As human beings, there are a lot of different things we can do with our lives. Like set your own personal goals, travel the world, walk around in public in a giant FNAF animatronic costume. What I'm saying is, you can do whatever you want. But one thing I am absolutely going to recommend you do not do is play the Modern Warfare 3 campaign. It really is a campaign that was made and produced and exists, and that's kind of it. It's just a thing that exists. I got done playing it and there is just not a lot I can really say about it that can shine some light on it or give it the praise it needs. I'm just gonna say it now, it sucks. Really bad. I'm gonna be going over the Modern Warfare 3 2023 campaign, and I'm gonna keep things spoiler free for the first part, and then the second part of this video, I'm then gonna talk about the spoilers, but feel free to watch past that point, you won't be missing much if you haven't experienced it. So let's start not at the beginning of the Modern Warfare 3 campaign, but let's go back to the Modern Warfare 2 campaign. First off, that campaign was good. I enjoyed it, and it really gave me a lot of hope, especially springing off of the Modern Warfare 2019 campaign. This had potential, and a really good, solid sequel in Modern Warfare 3 was brewing. Although it wasn't perfect, it seemed like what Infinity Ward were doing with this new rebooted COD universe was gonna turn out to be a good trilogy. It got to a point in Modern Warfare 2 where rumours of a DLC for the game was gonna be coming, and it was meant to be some kind of part 2 to the single player campaign in Modern Warfare 2. Eventually, we got a trailer for the Modern Warfare 3 campaign, and this was hyped for a few reasons. One of them being not only are we getting Modern Warfare 3, but also it seemed like there was clearly enough content in this campaign to be more than just a DLC. So naturally, COD fans were expecting this campaign to have a bit of oomph to it, to be the same level as Modern Warfare 2 and Modern Warfare 2019's. I'm gonna get the good out of the way, although sadly it is a really short list. So first off, the creator class system. Did I use it? No, not at all. But what matters is the option is there, and if you're replaying the campaign, that makes it a decent idea for anyone that actually wants to go back and play the campaign. Much like in Black Ops 2 where you did have a creator class, it's just a good system and it gives you a bit more customization in something that's supposed to be so linear. Not taking anything away from it, but you can kind of add your own flair into those missions by bringing the loadout that you actually want. The gunplay felt nice. I mean, it's a Call of Duty game, so I'd be worried if it didn't. Going pew pew at bad guys and making the head go pop pop was a good time at least. As it should be in any Call of Duty game though, so it's kinda hard to give this one a pass. But it didn't feel like complete dog shit, so it counts for something, right? The guns I was using in the campaign, I just used whichever ones I was given or whatever I could find in those crates. Felt weighty, they had this heaviness to them that I kind of felt when playing it, so it ended up adding to the overall punch I felt a lot of the guns had. And the last good thing I have to say about the Modern Warfare 3 campaign is that graphically I think it looked good. It looks near enough the same as Modern Warfare 2 did, and Modern Warfare 2019, and COD Vanguard. My point is, I think it looked good. Like for example, during the first mission when you're rappelling up and making your way up to the top of the prison, looked really nice. I mean, the water textures and the lighting, it looked good, it hit. I just don't have any issues. It didn't do anything insane. It's just been doing what COD has always done when I think about it, and that's looking nice. And that's where the positives end. I put ... on my notes here, thinking that I would eventually think of something more to say, but my head is about as empty as my fridge, so there's nothing else positive I can actually say about this now. I want to move on to the issues, because although I'm really making this out to be some big rant dump of a video, this is genuine, not only criticism, but things that I think are absolutely huge deal breakers in a campaign. Because not only is it meant to be a fun gameplay experience, it's also supposed to tell a story, because that's the point of a campaign. And anything that could have been good here, they just didn't develop enough, and it becomes painstakingly clear that this was, in fact, supposed to be just a DLC to get to Modern Warfare 3 and tell the story it wanted to, and not just sell out and eventually have this here now. Another thing that really annoyed me, and a lot of other people from what I'm seeing, nothing happens in this. Modern Warfare 3's campaign is like getting a Call of Duty campaign and sucking all of the story, all of the set pieces, all of any any tension, character development, completely out of the experience. And it leaves you with nothing. Just a glorified single-player Warzone with cutscenes. We have these incredibly dull open combat missions that don't do anything. They don't try anything. They don't feel like a linear campaign mission. And I was streaming this on Discord to a few of my friends, and I was sat there like disassociating, and I felt like I was coasting through this campaign despite being the one at the wheel. I had the keyboard and mouse at my fingertips, and this campaign just did not engage me at all. It felt like I was watching a video of gameplay somehow than actually playing it and engaging with it myself. And Cookie Clicker only gets away with that because 90% of the game is basically just watching a screen. And you know something? It was damn good to watch that screen, unlike playing this campaign where it felt lifeless. And it was supposed to be an immersive, story-driven experience that has interesting missions and good set pieces. It had none of those. I was just coasting from mission to mission. This form of gameplay I talked about with the open combat things, if it was just that, and if it was a lot more fleshed out obviously, and it felt cinematic and narratively well put together, that would be great. But there's this Warzone-ification, as I'm calling it, of these missions now, where you buckle up and you drop into the mission and you want to get on with it, but when you try to go up a rappel, this soldier you're playing as somehow doesn't have that equipment on them to let them rappel up a rope. Instead, you have to find it. And this eventually becomes infuriating because you kind of just want to get on with the mission and go where you want to go without having to worry about this weird Warzone looting system. It's the same for guns. You have to find grenades and equipment. You have to find ammo. You have to find weapons. And you also need to find armor plates too, and that all comes together to make Warzone and these campaign missions feel way more the same than I think they ever should. And all these open combat missions boil down to is drop in, open map, press F at one or more objectives that are marked on the map, and they're probably going to be something like defuse a bomb or upload intel, something like that. Basically those missions that you do on DMZ that serve to be nothing more than a very small objective to get you some XP in between games. The point of the campaigns in Call of Duty were to feel as cinematic as possible and to be more cinematic than any other experience you could get on a COD game. Although that was eventually overtaken by zombies, but you get the point I'm making. So I'm going to talk about the spoilers now, because I've got to get these off of my chest. This is therapy for me. If you don't want to be spoiled, then I'll put a timestamp here to go to where I'll be wrapping up the video and giving my final thoughts. Even though I will say you're not missing much, I really do mean that. That wasn't a joke what I said earlier. I actually don't think there's much point in avoiding spoilers to try and find this more exciting than it is. This is essentially a very soulless set of missions you'll be doing. So a major character dies, and that major character is Soap, of all people. And I feel as though they only did this just because Modern Warfare 3, the original one, did it as well. What's annoying is Soap was only just introduced in Modern Warfare 2, and it felt like he literally just found his place in Task Force 141 and was getting to know everyone more, especially Ghost, and then out of nowhere, without learning much about Soap at all, who he was, what his real motivations are, other than he wants to kill Makarov. Makarov does a /TPA Soap, straight up teleports to him, gets shot by Makarov. You, playing as Price, gets knocked to the ground as you're shot as well, but then all of a sudden, Soap gets back up and then gets dropped by Makarov again, and he actually dies that time. I mean, this has brought a whole new meaning to the phrase drop in the soap. I'm not mad at how quick it happened, I'm mad at why it happened. It just felt like there was no reason for it when we actually had a really good and beloved character that would have been really nice to finish the story with, or if they are going to kill him off, make it impactful, because when he does die, for some reason, no one reacts. They just look at each other and they say no, and that's it. Ghost is the only one that actually runs over to him, and even then, a mute would actually express more emotions. They don't say much at all, it seems very brushed over, very rushed especially, and Makarov disappears. The game ends, there's a cutscene where they scatter Soap's ashes and say a few words, but it it felt cheap above all else. Just a small thing for shock value that honestly didn't work. I think if it was someone like Gaz, who was established at the beginning of the game to have a good bond with Price, and who we've played as, we've seen what he's gone through, and we're a lot more familiar with, in this universe anyway, to see him get bodied by Makarov, it would have been kinda sad. It would have been unexpected, and they would also have to do a better job at making this feel more emotional, and instead maybe treating it like it doesn't have the same weight as a deflating balloon. That would probably be a good start. Shepard gets game ended by Captain Price in the post-credit scene. That's another villain that's been wasted completely, and with the minimal conversations and no chemistry between anyone, the wasted villains and the random death that came out of nowhere, and the lack of stakes, and then the abrupt ending, me, my friends, and everyone else that's finished the campaign at this point was left scratching their head wondering what just happened through that 4 hours and what was the point of any of it. The story is boring too, with nothing more than missiles and nukes being obtained by a bad guy, which is such a tiresome Call of Duty trope now. It's all that's been happening. It makes playing a campaign like Black Ops 1's a breath of fresh air, and it makes you realise how good the storytelling actually was and how unique Treyarch executed these ideas. And now, after all of that, it feels like we've been cheated of a Modern Warfare 3. This wasn't a showdown with Makarov. This wasn't a good story with good characters and spectacular set pieces. All it was dumbed down writing, PvE Warzone missions. It all just blended into this big jumbled mess, and it's something that really needs to be worked on, and I hope never returns again in any COD campaign unless they're gonna really go all out, balls to the wall, and make these open world style missions actually fun and immersive. Not just going to these 2 or 3 sites marked on the map and saying, yeah, just go and press F there. Because that's all I was doing. The only pressing of Fs we need to do is to pay respects to this horrendous campaign. It felt so mind-numbing and so lifeless. I actually have better stories to tell from my time playing Warzone and DMZ than I do this whole ass campaign that was supposed to be handcrafted by talented developers. Modern Warfare 3's campaign should have just came out as DLC, and not only would our expectations have been a lot lower, but it would then stop feeling like we've been robbed of a Modern Warfare 3. And the trailers and everything made out that this was going to be some kind of big showdown, and somehow nothing happened. When I said the story wasn't good and that nothing happens, I meant that. Not only does the gameplay feel pointless here, but the story felt like it didn't really need to happen, and a lot of it just happened for shock value or just to pad out time. And even then the campaign was like 4 hours long. If you like the characters as well, prepare for disappointment. There were so many of them that barely said anything meaningful or much of anything at all, and it was as though they were turned into robots. And the conversations they had didn't feel human at all. Sure, some people got angry, some people got a little more angry, but nothing actually meaningful was said, and it was really jarring to see because in Modern Warfare 2, I was really genuinely impressed with the mission where Soap was learning to survive guerrilla warfare, injured and having to throw together shanks and improvised makeshift weapons and tools like their goddamn Lego sets. All the while, Ghost is helping him out over the radio, giving him guidance on how to do a lot of this stuff, and talking to him just to make him feel a lot less lonely and hopefully a lot more comforted during literally a huge turning point in the campaign. They would just tell jokes to each other randomly and spout off about random things, and it just really added to this human connection that these two had. And you know, it was just nice to see COD do that. In this game, there's none of that. There's no chemistry between any of the characters at all, and I don't know where that went. There was no Price and Gaz dynamic, there was no Soap and Ghost dynamic, there was no Price and Laswell. It ended up being nothing more than robotic and stiff. And you might be thinking, well, Makarov's the villain this time around. He was like one of the most scary and intimidating and sneaky scheming villains in all of Call of Duty. And this time, he still feels a little cunning, but absolutely nothing to the scale that he was in the old Modern Warfare 3. In the old Modern Warfare 3, this guy caused World War 3. There's the No Russian mission, which I don't even think I need to get into, and so many more things that I could spend a whole video talking about that made this guy genuinely scary and want to completely delete him from planet Earth. He had such a bite to him, this bitterness and this real coldness that was straight up evil and nothing more. This Makarov though, he looks and acts like a smug 14-year-old, and I feel like it really defeats the point of what Makarov embodied, of how chaotically calculated he somehow was, and how he was 2 steps ahead in front of everyone all the time, until Price and Yuri at the end of the original Modern Warfare 3 campaign decide to just go in guns blazing. And they fumbled with no Russian as well, which is a very big and very sensitive topic for a mission in COD, but it feels like it was nerfed. We didn't stick around on this plane for long enough to see just how bad this was gonna get. Yes, the civilians are terrified. Yes, the character you're playing as is terrified. Yes, Makarov is very calm about all of this. But I think what would have really added the spice, the flair, the kick to this mission would be after you get blown up, the plane crashes, you wake up as someone that survived, trying to help other people and realizing how powerless you feel. A lot like the mission in Modern Warfare 1, the original one, where the nuke goes off and your helicopter crashes, and all you can do is walk around the rubble, helpless. No one's coming to save you, and it's basically game over. I think that would have really added to the mission, and I already knew it was going to be nerfed going into it. It was over before it even properly started, and adding that bit I mentioned at the end would have hammered home and reinforced the idea that these were people. And now we've got to wait another 2 years for another campaign just to get what we should have had this year. At this point, the COD hate jokes write themselves, but in conclusion, this campaign is nothing special. In fact, it's not even anything good. And I actually think this might be the worst COD campaign I've ever played in my life. My only hope is it can't get worse than this. Right, guys? It can't, can it? I should get this copium out of my bloodstream, but we're gonna have to hope in the meantime that this can improve and deliver something good enough to make up for whatever this mess, both narratively and gameplay wise, of a campaign is. I said it at the beginning of the video and I'll say it again now at the end. If you care about your time, if you care about a good Call of Duty story and fun gameplay, don't bother with this campaign. Go and watch some cutscenes that someone will upload of all of them in order for this game, and that'll fill you in enough. The real Modern Warfare 3 campaign is gonna start in Modern Warfare 4. But anyways, I'm gonna leave this video here today. If you enjoyed or found this informative, be sure to smash the like button. Comment your thoughts on the Modern Warfare 3 campaign down below if you had the displeasure of trudging through this mess. Subscribe to the channel if you aren't already, you won't regret it. Turn on the notification bell too to stay notified whenever I upload a video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.